Welcome to Glazed Over, a podcast for contemporary ceramic studios. We're your host, Jessica Cowan.
And Amy Williams. You're invited to join us in creative conversation about life in the arts as entertainment space.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Hi, everyone. Bisque Imports is proud to sponsor the CCSA's new podcast series. Why? Because we love new and innovative things. Check out our latest on-trend designs in the new items section, as well as in our digital version of the quarterly booklet on our website. Enjoy the podcast.
As a small business owner, saving money is the key to running a successful studio. When you join the Contemporary Ceramic Studio Association, you unlock exclusive discounts with industry suppliers, saving you money on everything from bisque to glazes and clay tools. These discounts easily cover the cost of your membership, and then some. Don't miss out on savings that can help boost your bottom line and keep your shelves stocked with high-quality supplies. Learn more about our membership discounts at ccsaonline.com.
Hey, Amy.
Hey, Jess.
How's it going?
It's going so good. I'm feeling so good after we've wrapped up this episode on negative reviews with Maddie Riegel.
Yeah, Maddie was so informative about all things social media reviews specifically, and not just negative reviews. She gave us a lot of good insight about how to respond to the good and the bad. She's got a couple of methods, the heat method and the learn method that we'll learn about. What else did she give us, Amy? It was all good stuff.
God. We talked about using AI in this space. We talked about when to bring legal in to handle kind of the big bad reviews. Yeah, Maddie is such a wealth of information. I say in the beginning of the episode that I spend a lot of time on Chatter just reading her very thoughtful responses when people put a call out looking for, please help me with this negative review. She's a perfect guest for the podcast, and I'm happy we got her.
Yeah, she was the number one pick for sure. So without further ado, let's jump in.
How's business been for you?
It's been really good. We are having a really good beginning of our year. We just moved to a bigger location at one of our studios, and it's great.
And you're in business with your mom, is that right?
Yeah, so my mom started it in 1999. I was 13, so y'all can do the math on that. We opened in 99. I like to tease and say that I've officially been working for Glazed Expressions since 98. But yeah, it's been great being part of a family business. All of my sisters have been a part of it and are still somewhat a part of it. And I've been here full time now since 2012.
Wow.
That's awesome. I love that for y'all.
My mom is now my bookkeeper. Do you have any advice for me to not lose my mind?
It's a struggle sometimes. We have kind of like our set roles, and like she's responsible for this and I'm responsible for that. So we just kind of stay in our own lane most of the time.
That must be nice. My mom is in everybody's lanes.
Yeah. There's that sometimes, and you can't get away from that.
Do you guys do just pottery painting, or is there any other?
So we do pottery painting, and then we do candle making, and then we're trying to launch something new. And I don't know if I'm ready to share just yet.
Sure.
Ooh,
yeah, maybe off camera you can.
Yeah, off the record. We'll get a teaser. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you do anything else, Jessica?
Also, well, we do
never
mosaics.
Called you Jessica before. That was weird.
Yeah, that was a weird. Yeah, I'm not in trouble, am I?
No.
Yeah, no. I mean, we do the walk-in PYOP, and then we do mosaic making, stoneware, and we have stamp carving, which is a really easy make and take kind of deal, which I've in a tourist area has helped me a lot. But we're not here for that right now.
That's really interesting. I've toyed around with that like on my own solo.
Yeah, like lino cut.
It's really low investment, and like all you need is a box, and you can transfer the images with acetone. So if you buy silk screens, you can pretty much like use those same images to be able to transfer them over if you have like a copy of the image that you want to do. So, there's some thoughts. We should all talk about that at another time.
I like that. So Maddie, we've got you on today to talk about social media reviews and the importance of them. It's a love-hate relationship, right?
Yes.
But before we kind of dive into that, you gave us a little intro about, how long you've been in business and stuff. Will you give us the official, this is who I am, this is the studio, this is where I am. Yeah, tell us exactly who you are.
Yeah, my elevator speech, right? My name is Maddie Riegel. I am co-owner of Glazed Expressions in the Des Moines metro area. We opened in 1999 with one location. We now have two. I'm super excited to be part of this podcast and the CCSA.
Yeah, we are too. This is something anytime I'm scrolling on Chatter and I see like a couple keywords and I'm like, oh, let me get to the comments because I know Maddie is in here providing excellent feedback on how to deal with, a customer
Right.
complaint or like even you ventured into issues with staff. Like you seem to really be very good at this. How'd you get so good at it?
I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. So, like, literally, my upbringing is like been in a business of some kind. You just you learn how to handle certain situations, and I was lucky enough to kind of be brought up with it. Even with that being said, it's still hard and awkward sometimes. So, it's definitely, I think, something that everyone struggles with, but there are kind of little tips and tricks that make it easier. And obviously, the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Jess, where are you with feedback? So I'm lucky enough, I'm not in a traditional studio. I don't have to do this very often, and it does really
Yeah.
scare me. Jess, how do you feel about it?
Well, I will say I definitely, every time I get you got a new review notification, 9 out of 10 of
Mhm.
them are going to be great, but my heart is
Mhm.
still like, please don't let this be a one
Right.
bad review. And I think that part gives me a little bit of anxiety that you can't exactly get away from as a business
Mhm.
owner, where like, you're always worried about that anyway. And so then when it
Right.
actually comes up and you have to address it and you're like, great, this is my nightmare. And then here it is right in front of me. But you do have to address it. Like Manny said, the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. And these hard conversations are also part of being a business owner. I do wish we
Mhm.
talked more about the fun ones, and like how we connect with the people who did leave us those good reviews. And
Mhm.
not to take away from Maddie, but even this morning, my team and I were talking too about how we as consumers operate. And like, we're not that likely to leave good reviews at places that we go.
Mhm.
We're not really likely to leave bad reviews either, unless we had a terrible experience. So
Right.
it's hard to kind of balance, man, we get a one bad review and you have to really struggle to get good reviews. And why is that? And it's a lot of back and forth in your head.
That's exactly it. And Maddie, do you promote like in studio, hey, leave us a review? Is that part of the jargon?
It's really not. It's definitely something we could be better at. Occasionally, like my staff takes tips, but I do not. And so usually if I'm being tipped, I will say like, "Hey, the best tip you can give me is to leave a good review." But yeah, we most of ours is just kind of organic when people are happy or I guess not happy occasionally, they go on and leave a review. So
And where are these reviews happening? So we've got Google reviews, we've got Facebook. Are there any more that I'm missing?
I was gonna say we have a Yelp. Luckily, it's not super active. I get nervous anytime I have to like go in and change my hours on there or something that Yelp will start. But those are kind of like our top ones. I keep an eye on everything. We like even our Indeed, we had a disgruntled employee leave us a review. So I mean, that was one that I wasn't expecting, but luckily I caught it pretty quickly. Yeah, mostly Facebook and Google are our tops.
I know when I am visiting a new place, I am looking
Mhm.
at the Google reviews. So they are
Mhm.
really important. I tend to do like most recent when I do the filter, right? You can see because it
Yep.
wants to serve you the really good ones and really bad ones first. So I like to look at the most recent. There is a type of person that reviews, right? Like
Mhm.
you're right when you say it's hard to get these just like neutral reviews. It's
Mhm.
mostly they're very bad. So I like the idea of in studio saying, hey, if you had a great time, like please leave us a positive review. And I
Mhm.
think Google would probably be the best place to do that. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because of like the SEO and things like that.
Right. I was gonna say it's gonna pick up on every other review site. So Google's definitely probably the one that I would put emphasis on. I've seen a couple of local businesses recently have like little printouts saying, here's a QR code. If you had a great time, we'd love to hear about it. If we could have done better, talk to us about it. So
Yeah.
I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of an interesting approach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we have the
almost
QR codes at my store, and those have
Yeah.
been really helpful. And our other part of that is, if we can be better, join our advisory council, and we'll talk to you
Mm.
every month about what it could be for a year of, what could be better. And that's been really helpful. And I do want to just add on the topic of reviews.
a bit about
If you're trying to get them, if you have like a text program and you can add that, if
Mhm.
you're doing pickup text, that's the only way that I feel like we get the most organic reviews is those ones at the pickup text that say, leave us a review if you had a good time, because it's after they've already had the experience, they come back, they pick
Mhm.
up their piece, and then that's when I really want the review anyway. After it's all kind of said and done and they have the full thing in their hand.
You brought up the advisory board. I'd love to hear a little bit about that if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yeah, our advisory board is just a collection of customers, not all of whom had a bad experience. They're ones who have chosen to be on it. And we call them once a month and have a conversation about their most recent experience, all your ins and outs, but also their consumer behavior, what's popular in your house right now, where have you gone recently, did you go to dinner lately, blah, blah, blah. We take all that information to help curate a better experience. In exchange, they get a $5 voucher every month towards anything in the studio. And if you don't participate for 3 months, we take you off the list. So, just as an ongoing, they're going to get $5 to come in and paint, which is a win for me personally. And then at the end of the year or in the fall, we'll have a little party for them. So all of the people who've helped us in any capacity will get invited to the fun party to get together. So it's a good time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like incentivizing for stuff like that. It's just smart.
For me, it's about getting the customers involved with the store and making them really feel like they're a part of building the store in this community. And in theory, that will make them want to come here more so that we get to stick around.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of jump into the negative part of this. Maybe walk us through like a little bit of role playing almost. Like, let's say you get this bad review. What is the very first thing that you do? Is it immediately respond?
Oh, absolutely not. I was going to say no. I was going to say, so I'm at my phone or I'm at my laptop and I get a bad review. Usually the very first thing I'm going to do after I've read it is I will reread it. At that point, I'm looking for what are they really upset about? And usually they'll tell you, but it's not going to be in a direct way. Right. So are they upset about the price? Are they upset because they felt like they didn't get the customer service they were expecting? Are they upset because they wanted a particular piece? Find out what the root cause of the upset is usually my first goal, because that's going to tell me how to respond. Now, with that being said, every now and then I like to type up a response just to get feelings out of the way.
Very smart.
And so I always say, do that like in a note form, not on the actual review. That way you can really like look at your words, get those feelings out of the way, and then figure out what really needs to be said. At convention this last year, I did a class on bad reviews and all of that. And one method that I use is the HEAT method, which is used by a lot of big companies. I love calling T-Mobile for customer support because they are experts at it. But that's hear, empathize, apologize, and then take action. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to hear what your customer is complaining about.
And I think you also have to take yourself out of the situation. Like, they're not talking about you. They're talking about something else. But I agree that that's very difficult. And so
because we are our business. So like you're always going to have that like emotion side to it. So that's why I say, give yourself a moment, have that emotion side to yourself, and then, address the situation.
And how long would you say your responses are?
It really varies. Usually I try and keep them pretty short. If they have a lot of specifics, I will try and address those specifics. And then those ones can be a little bit longer.
I find No, go ahead, please.
Do you talk to your staff before you write these reviews, or do you go ahead and solve the review first and then kind of figure it out with the rest later?
No, if I can, I will absolutely talk to staff first. I just had a negative review pop up, and literally I could tell from their comment, like they were just in the store. And so I called the staff and I said, hey, tell me about this situation. And I got the deets on it. And then when I went to go respond to it, they actually had pulled their own negative review because they were out of line and someone in their party must have addressed it. So,
interesting.
So I got really lucky on that one. But yeah, absolutely. I always try and get as much information as possible before I address it online.
Yeah, I get that. And that's the tough part for me is notoriously in person, my face says everything that I'm thinking. And I try really hard to keep that back. And then whenever I am responding to these online reviews, having all the information, but their perspective is different, and really having to settle myself down. And, we're a customer service business. I want to build a relationship with these people. I want them to come back as much as I want to defend myself and my team and everybody else and what happened. Like finding that middle ground is really hard, where it's respectful, but also like, hey, that was out of pocket,
Right.
again, when I'm looking at a review, and because, I want to go somewhere, I'm checking out the reviews, I'm looking at how the company has handled the negative review. And I gotta say, like, sometimes when the tone is bad or they're overly defensive or they're like really rude and out of pocket back to the commenter, that is so uncomfortable and almost makes me like side with the person that commented. So yeah, how do you handle like when your staff is in the wrong? Like when you did make a mistake, how do you like protect your staff but also say like, yeah, we made a mistake? Or are you saying we messed up? Sorry, come back in. Like, what does that look like for you?
I was going to say, absolutely. I think it's really important to take accountability for their experience, even if that wasn't a stellar one. And I think what that kind of shows people reading those reviews then is, hey, like, okay, everyone messes up, but they actually are trying to make it right. And hopefully that will then be perceived as still worth doing business. So
do you ever
And
call
are you responding to all of the reviews yourself?
I don't respond to all of them. And I think that, I always go back and forth if I should respond to all of them or not. I do go through and try and at least like all of the comments, but I try and save my actual like written responses for either really, really stellar reviews or for those bad. I always will respond to a bad review.
Jess, do you respond to all your reviews?
Not all of them. I'm kind of in the same boat. The really great ones are the ones that were specific that we can kind of bounce back and forth with, or the really bad ones. I have added it to my customer experience coordinator's job to respond to all of the reviews, even if it's just a thank you so much for coming in. We'll see you soon. We'll see if there's any sort of difference or if that ends up muddling up the conversation, because I do think when I'm the consumer, like I kind of like that too. Like I can see what's in the middle. It's the far ends of the spectrum that I want to see what the customers thought and how the business really responded to it as well.
Hey again, speaking of new and innovative designs, did you know that Bisque Imports maintains a new item pipeline of over 200 designs? The design team at Bisque Imports meets monthly to discuss trends, review product lines, and get amazing new shapes into production. We've recently started providing you with advance notice when new items are on the way from our factory. Check the Arriving Soon category on our website to view brand new shapes that are coming soon, as well as existing shapes that will soon be back in stock. You can even click the Notify Me button on the product page to get an email when these items are received. Enjoy!
Are you spending hours managing studio bookings and class registrations? Occasion helps ceramic studios save an average of 3 days a week in admin time. With clever workflows, instant confirmations, and seamless class management, you can focus on what matters, creating amazing experiences for your customers. Join successful studios like Clay Cafe Avalon, who've trusted Occasion since 2016. Visit occasion.app and schedule a demo today. Mention Glazed Over Podcast for personalized setup support.
Maddie, do you ever take a response offline and call the customer?
Oh, totally. And I even will invite them to contact us. And if I can find their information, I absolutely contact them. One thing that I like to do on my negative reviews in particular is I always start them with, I wish you would have reached out to us so that we could have made this right. And that's how I start it, because my goal is then any customer who's going and looking at those reviews before they leave a negative review, maybe they will see that. And that might encourage them to reach out to us first before making that review online.
Have you ever gotten a review that didn't belong to you? Like maybe there's a competing pottery shop in town and someone reviewed you instead of them on it. Yes or no? How'd you handle that?
Not so much that actually, but we have had reviews where very clearly they are not our customer for whatever reason. They're just trying to mess with us. We have dealt with that, but not one for another competitor.
I feel like several years ago, and I'm sure it's still happening, but there was a onset of fake reviews coming in. And I'm curious if that's still happening and if you're seeing a lot of success in reporting that to Google and having them remove it. Like, do they actually remove the reviews?
I've had one or two that have been fully reviewed or removed on Facebook. I mean, you can turn your reviews off, which is nice, especially if, you're dealing with a situation where people in England and stuff like that, if they're kind of on that bandwagon for some reason. So, I mean, it is possible. It's hard. You have to have a pretty legit reason. And usually that's going to fall in like their community, like standard guidelines. So if there's like threats or something like that, it'll definitely help you. But yeah, it's hard to get them removed. So that's why I just try and address them.
You bring up like the turning off reviews on Facebook because sometimes people really pile on. I have noticed in the past, if maybe somebody got a couple really bad reviews, they're coming into Chatter and they're saying, hey, can everybody go give my studio a 5-star review? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I sympathize because obviously, like, this person is dealing with like a lot of emotion and hurt, and they're wanting to try and hide that from view. And so, like, I get it, especially when we have a great community. We want to rely on our community to help us out and everything. But I think it's just important that you're still addressing it and hopefully making it right by that customer. But with that being said, it's also okay to fire a customer. And if you need to do that, you need to do that.
I agree on the 5-star reviews from buddies and stuff. My suggestion is just don't do it from your studio account because I think then when your customers start looking at your reviews and it's the Pottery Place and, Pottery Stop and all these people are coming in being like, this is my favorite activity, it starts to look a little bit phony. And I think people can really see through that. But
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had to fire a customer lately from any bad experiences in the studio?
Luckily, no. We really have great customers. And like that's the thing is like I think we're so blessed with our line of business because people are coming to us for a fun time. So we have really nice customers. They're not coming here to be crabby. They're coming here to be happy. So that definitely is in our favor. But yeah, it's been actually probably a couple of years since I've had to like really fire a customer.
So with your reviews, is your staff involved? Do you have like a group thread that you post them to, good or bad, when you get them? Do you print them out and put them in the back room? How do you loop them into the feedback from the customers and then use that going forward?
So usually if it's a negative review, I'm going to talk about it with managers. And then if it is a like specific staff member, I will kind of address that with them. Whatever the complaint was, I'm going to kind of be extra vigilant towards keeping an eye on that situation. But as far as our positive reviews go, usually after a certain point, we have a private Facebook group and I'll go in and I'll share, hey guys, we've been getting a lot of really nice reviews. Here's what the customers are saying about you. And I'll share them in our Facebook group.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I love when companies, especially small businesses, post their positive reviews. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a testimonial. So I do urge a lot of our industry to go in these Google reviews and grab the most recent positive one, drop it in Canva with like a fun, colorful background and post it on your Facebook and Instagram. That's like an easy...
Especially if you haven't posted in a while. Like this is some easy content. It'll get people in.
Yeah.
We haven't posted because we're so busy having fun.
Yeah. No, that's a really good idea. I'm getting ready to redo our website. And so I'm all like, oh, that would be a really cute little piece to add.
Yeah, I think so much of the internet and being on the internet is proving yourself and proving that people come in and proving that like you are successful. And I think we do that by showing that the studio is busy and posting these positive reviews. So
yeah,
that's my social media tip of the day. So you mentioned this class at convention. What questions did you get asked within your class? Like what's everybody really wanting to know around this topic within the industry?
There's a lot of like that emotional element to it and how to kind of keep that in check. There was a lot of questions that were kind of associated with that. And then I think like the other one was just like the one-off like really crazy reviews that you get. Like how do you address those? And especially if you feel they are not true. So with those, I encourage you to try and provide proof. If it's someone you feel like you want to keep, try and provide proof on how that's not your policy or, something like that. And then provide like an option on how to make that right. Otherwise, if you can tell like this is not a legit review saying, for lack of a better word, you like want to discredit it a little bit to everyone else reading it, saying things like, hey, I don't have you in my customer database. Can you give me a call so we can discuss this? And sometimes not engaging with those is sometimes a more powerful approach.
Yeah, not to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I recently, when I got my hair done, they were like, hey, can you leave us a review? It'd be really special. They were really hounding me about leaving a review. And so I thought, oh, they must have gotten some really bad reviews lately. So of course I'm in there and I'm looking because I'm nosy. And there was one that's really similar to what you're saying, where it's clear to me that they got confused about the salon and they just, maybe it was a similar name or whatever. And they say, you know, you cut my ear with the scissors and I'm bleeding everywhere and no one offered to pay for my medical bills. And it was a really outrageous negative review. But the salon's response was even more outrageous. It was, I checked the security cameras and you weren't there and we don't have a customer like you. And I would gladly pay for your bills if you prove that you were there. And you know, like I was saying earlier, that looks crazy. And the maybe the response is, hey, we actually don't see you in our database. Like, please give us a call so we can figure out what happened here because we think maybe you didn't show or whatever it is. But yeah, I think really the heart of it is trying to remove the feelings from this.
And anytime you can take it offline, one, I think you're going to get a more genuine conversation with the customer, but usually that alone is going to de-escalate it. I think being behind the keyboard gives people a certain confidence that they're not always going to kind of continue in person. It's easier to kind of elaborate and exaggerate online than it is to someone's face.
When you do take the review offline and call, do you ever come back and say, because again, you're trying to prove to everybody else, like, oh, we had a nice conversation, like, thanks for the offline conversation. Do you ever do anything like that? And do you see any benefit from doing that?
I was going to say, I haven't had to do that. I have had a couple of times where they left a less than stellar review and then we had that conversation and they've gone in and they've changed it. That I'll take any day of the week. But usually if they've engaged with further conversation, they end up changing their review. Otherwise, it just kind of gets left at my response with usually an invite to call me, because usually if I can, I will call them. Otherwise, I give them the invite to contact me and then it's up to them. And most of the time after they've gotten their upset out online, they're not really interested in following up.
Makes sense. Have you ever used ChatGPT to help formulate these responses?
Totally. Absolutely. I was going to say it's a great tool for helping you remove your emotion side to it. I think it's just really important that you're not just doing a direct copy paste though. Go in there and take that vibe, but make it your own flavor, because I'm very adamant that we all kind of have our own way of speaking. And so all of a sudden, you know, if you sound like AI, it's not going to be very genuine.
Do you write a certain prompt before you paste that bad review in? You know, are you saying any certain words to ChatGPT to get a better, more you response?
I mean, yes and no. There is like a way to go in and kind of train ChatGPT on how you talk, so to speak. But usually I'm gonna just give it prompts like, hey, this is our task. We're responding to a negative review. I will usually tell them, ChatGPT, what
I call him Chad sometimes.
I was gonna say mine's called Amy. So
gotta be nice to the AI.
So so when they're taking over the world, I want to be on their good list. So
absolutely.
Please and thank yous, give it a name. So I will say, hey, we're responding to a negative review. This is the potential outcome that I would like to happen. Here's the details. And sometimes that'll just be me directly copying and pasting the review into it. Sometimes I'll just be like, they didn't feel like they were checked on, you know, while they were creating or something, whatever it is. Let it kind of come up with a response. And then I'm going to look it over, change some things. Like I like calling people friends. Hey, friend, I'm sorry, you know, your experience was less than stellar. That's how I would say it. Where she might say, hey, like, we apologize that your experience didn't live up to your standards. And I'm like, okay, that's nice, but that's not what I would say, you know? So you have to make it your flavor, but it's absolutely a great tool to help you get started.
I think you're so right about going in and editing. I get really frustrated when I'm on someone's website or in their social media or something, and it's so clearly they just copied and pasted the ChatGPT thing, because you can tell. And I think we're getting better and better at telling when someone hasn't put any effort in to edit to make it more of the brand voice. And I know I'm big about being like, okay, can you respond to this with a friendly tone and make it short and don't use any emojis and take out these dashes searches, and that has helped me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just know that I want to feel like my input's being heard. So definitely when it's all the copy paste from AI, it's like, oh, is that an employee of yours? Just does AI all day, and no one really cares what these experiences were like. So I think that's kind of the critical piece, is taking that and then adding your tone to it, like you say.
Well, do you have any other, maybe like your big takeaway? If there's one thing you want to leave people with when it comes to dealing with these negative reviews?
I would say you have to face it. Ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. And sometimes it can only make it worse, because then all of your future customers, or even current customers, they're going to see that and then kind of think twice about you and your business. So even though it's hard, address it, even if it's just to say, hey, I apologize, that was your experience. Because it's going to say you're at least being mindful and that you're engaged. So don't ignore it.
Absolutely.
Speaking of being mindful and engaged, have you ever, do you keep these, and maybe your response, or like the internal, what happened, what the solution was for down the road, and just trying to give our listeners at home some ideas of how to use their reviews to propel their business forward?
I was going to say, we do talk about them as follow up. We occasionally will talk about them during staff training. But I mean, the good news is we don't get a ton of bad reviews. So we try not to dwell on those a whole lot. We just put a lot of emphasis on our good reviews with our staff and stuff.
Well, and same with that. I mean, do you ever feel like that helps you highlight what you're great at within those good reviews, or you can kind of pinpoint, these are the things my people are actually really good at?
I mean, if they're, sometimes it's just the generic, the staff is great, And so I'm like, hey, you guys, you're great.
I really love the heat thing. I'm going to be thinking about that for quite some time. And remind me, tell me what it stands for again.
Yeah. So HEAT is hear, empathize, apologize, and take action. I mean, anytime I am especially on the phone or something, before I even talk to them, I will write out HEAT in front of me, just as a visual reminder of don't let your emotions get in here. This is our plan, stick to the plan. There's another variation of that, which I personally like better, but HEAT is more well known, I guess. And that's learn. So it's listen, empathize, apologize, respond. So that's exactly the same as HEAT. But then the end is never make excuses. Because the second you make it an excuse, it's going to negate everything else on that path. So
yeah, that's so true. I'm thinking about even arguments I have with my girlfriend.
Totally.
I'm really trying to not say but, and I think that goes with customers. I mean, isn't a relationship customer service anyway?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's such a good tip. Do you read any books or listen to any podcasts and consume any media that helps you with this?
I was going to say, not so much. I am super into Blinkist right now. I don't know
What's
if
that?
you guys, it's an app, and it's kind of Cliff Note versions of books. And so books are turned into 12 to 20 minute little reads, and it kind of gives you the main points of the book, and they call them blinks. So the first blink is these couple of chapters and stuff, but it allows me to kind of get a taste. And then if I find something super interesting, then I'm ooh, I might actually really want to read that one. So Blinkist has been my current fave.
That's a great tip. I do unfortunately think most business books could just be 3 episodes of a podcast.
Yep.
But of course, authors have to be paid. So no one cancel me. But yeah, that's a really helpful tool, especially just to get the taste of it and see if you want to dive in, because our time's limited.
Yeah. Between my 2 stores, it's about 20-30 minutes. And so usually I can kind of get a book out of the way during that drive.
Jess, you've talked about you consume a lot of business books. Or do you have any recommendations under this topic?
Yeah, I mean, Unreasonable Hospitality would be one. There's a Disney book about curating the customer experience called Be Our Guest. That's a really good one. I'm actually currently reading one about AI and integrating those things into the customer service world. It's called The Future is Faster Than You Think. And it's basically if you don't know how to use AI, somebody else will, and they'll do it better than you. So get with it. So I do think that there's some resources on both the customer service topic as well as integrating the AI in, because even beyond the social media part of it, there's a lot of, you can help AI teach you how to train people easier, and come up with the words for your handbook and all of that stuff for your customer paint spiel. So definitely look into that if you're not already.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I'm reading a really good business book right now about a con woman going to a small farm to expel it from a ghost, but then she falls in love with a farmer. And by business book, I just mean romance book called Happy Medium. So awesome. Also really suggest that one.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
We hope you enjoyed the show, everyone. Give your customers incentive to return often by bringing in fresh new shapes. View Bisque Import's latest and greatest shapes on our website and hit the Notify Me button to be first in line to order when they arrive. If you've got ideas for new shapes, feel free to send them in to marketing@bisqueimports.com.
Running a fine art studio is a full-time job, and finding time to plan your marketing can feel overwhelming. That's where the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association comes in. As a CCSA member, you'll have access to a treasure trove of marketing resources, from customizable marketing graphics to monthly social media calendars and content ideas. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Focus on your business while we help you promote your studio with tools that save you time and attract more customers. Join today and take your marketing to the next level. Visit www.ccsaonline.com for more info.
Well, Maddie, I learned so much from you today. And I think, you continue to be so generous with your time, especially here to meet with us, but also on Chatter. So I'm thankful for you. I learned so much just from lurking in the comments. So
well, thank you. I mean, I've gotten a lot from the CCSA, so anytime I can give back, I definitely want to.
Yeah. Well, any parting words?
I don't know. Make art and be happy, I guess. Okay. So
hey,
if we want to find you somewhere, where should our people look for you?
Probably Facebook is the best. I was gonna say I'm working on my LinkedIn. I finally am like, okay, we gotta do that. So
I know.
Yeah, probably Facebook would be the best.
And you're at Glazed Expressions, right? That's where the business
correct.
Facebook is. Awesome.
Yep, Glazed Expressions. We've got our main page, and then we've got sub pages for each location, both in Clive and Ankeny.
Awesome. And we'll see you at convention this year, of course.
Possibly.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say we
new thing might juggle her away from us.
We have to look at it. We've got a lot kind of going on at that time. So
okay. Well, we hope to see you at convention.
I always hope to be there.
All right. Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks so much, Maddie.
Yeah, thank you.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Jessica Cowan. Editing by Scott Lester. Executive production by Vicki DeWord. Learn more at ccsaonline.com.